thoroughly this evening. We'd like to welcome all of our guest speakers, dignitaries, community leaders, and everybody that has joined us from the surrounding areas within Tampa Bay and even the greater Orlando area. I'd also like to extend our gratitude and our thanks to every single role player that made this night possible today. And without further ado, I would like to introduce our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Cyrus McGoldrick, who is visiting us from Cair, New York, and he is the Advocacy Director there. Cyrus.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Begin in the name of God, and I wish upon all of you peace. Assalam means peace if you're still getting familiar with the Arabic language, and I wish it upon all of us. I'd like to begin by thanking you all for having me. I came down to Tampa to dodge the weather in New York City. I think I'm going to stay for a little while. But the beautiful thing about the event like today is that just as much as it's about the work that Cair Tampa is doing, and I have to tell you that from an outside view, they're doing amazing, brilliant work, but that it's also about the community that supports them and the community that benefits from them. So please give yourselves a big round of applause for being here today. As is our custom, we'd like to begin with the words of God. So we'd like to recite from the Quran today. In our community, we're blessed to have very active, very talented youth. And so I just met the brother who's going to be reciting from the Quran today. His name is Faisal Latif. This young brother is in high school. Brother's in high school and he's participating in things like this. It's a beautiful thing. So please welcome him to the stage. Thank you.
I'm just going to be reciting a few ayahs from the Holy Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي يوم لا بيع فيه ولا خلة ولا شفاعة والكافرون هم الظالمون الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه ولا يحيطون بشيء من
حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم.
صح.
Thank you, Brother Faisal, for sharing that. I'd like to share, some of us aren't familiar with the Arabic of it, so I'd like to share a translation of those words. The first verses that he read were from the first chapter of the Quran. It's called the opening of Fatiha, and we recite it in every single one of our prayers, so it's a very familiar one to us. The words are like this. In the name of God, Beneficent, Merciful. Praise belongs to God, Lord of the worlds, Lord of mercy, the giver of mercy, Master of the day of judgment. It is you who we worship, it is you we ask for help. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those you have blessed. Not the path, the path of those you have blessed, those who incur no anger and who have not gone astray. The second batch of verses is from the second chapter of the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, and it's towards the end. It goes like this. O you who believe, give from what we have provided for you, before the day comes when there is no bargaining, no friendship, and no intercession. It is the disbelievers who are wrong. God, there is no God but Him, the ever-living, the ever-watchful. Neither slumber nor sleep overtakes Him. All that is in the heavens and in the earth belongs to Him. Who is there that can intercede with Him except by His leave? He knows what is before them and what is behind them, but they do not comprehend any of His knowledge except what He wills. His throne extends over the heavens and the earth. It does not weary Him to preserve them both. He is the Most High, the Tremendous. There is no compulsion in religion. True guidance has become distinct from error. So whoever rejects false gods and believes in God has grasped the firmest handhold, one that will never break. God is the all-hearing and all-knowing. I'm going to move the program right along. The next man I'd like to bring up to the stage is someone who needs no introduction, I'm sure, in this community, but deserves a great one. He is responsible and instrumental to so much of this work that we're all here to celebrate. And when we were in Washington, D.C. together, we were very often confused as twins. I'd like to bring up to the stage my dear brother, Hassan Shibli.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and welcome. I gotta say, I'm very impressed at a Muslim event, and we only started 20 minutes late. That must be a record, so congratulations. It's my honor really to welcome you here today to our 8th annual banquet in Tampa. Alhamdulillah, by the grace of God, I am really humbled to be before you today and extremely grateful and touched by your generous support that makes our work to fight discrimination and unite the community through dialogue and education possible. You are the true patriots and the front lines for protecting America and ensuring it remains a free and just nation, not just for Muslims, but for all people and for all generations to come. When we fight discrimination, bigotry, intolerance, xenophobia, prejudice, and ignorance, we make things better not just for the Muslim community, but for our society as a whole. So thank you for doing your part to make America a better place. The reality is that one of the best ways to defend our faith is to uphold and protect the Constitution. The events of the past 2 years have served as a strong reminder that we can never take the freedoms protected by the Constitution for granted. To this very day, many human beings throughout the world are dying to secure the very same freedoms that we do often take for granted and which make our country such a great nation. CAIR stands to protect all that which the Constitution holds sacred. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of association, the right to privacy, the presumption of innocence, the right to be free from unwarranted government harassment, and the right to due process. The right to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness without being treated differently because of your faith. One of the very ironic things is that those that attack CAIR and the Muslim community do so using principles that undermine our Constitution, like religious discrimination, guilt by association, presumption of guilt, the disregarding of due process, and even threats of violence. So my friends, we stand here today not as defenders of Islam or of Muslims, but of justice, equality, and freedom. We stand as defenders of the Constitution. CAIR and its supporters will be remembered as heroes on the right side of history, just as those fighting racism are now remembered honorably, and those promoting racism have long been forgotten. We live in very exciting times. Our fight against Islamophobia has had a great impact both locally and nationally. This past election, we saw an overwhelming amount of anti-Muslim candidates rejected by voters. This may not have been possible except for our work together to expose Islamophobia as no different than anti-Semitism and the other forms of discrimination that once were, but no longer are, accepted. I would like to take a moment to give special thanks to our donors, because you have made it possible for CAIR Florida to become a premier civil rights organization. You know, I still remember my first day with CAIR on June 1st, 2011. We had a few $1,000s in the bank. I was sitting under a very, very leaky roof. I wasn't used to the rain, coming from Buffalo where we often dealt with snow. And it was just me and Sylvia and Amala, our part-time legal fellow, and I was wondering what kind of trouble I had gotten myself into. But thanks to your support, our Tampa office has grown. We fixed that leaky roof, or patched it at least. And now we have 3 full-time attorneys. You know, this time last year we only had 1. And alhamdulillah, CAIR Florida is one of the only non-profit organizations that has 3 full-time attorneys working to serve the community and funded completely by the local community without any government support. Alhamdulillah, I cannot believe how much we've grown in the past year. And to give you an example, let me walk you through 2 days of what it's like to work in the CAIR office. On June 1st, 2011 was my first day, and I kept a log of what we did. You know, because you have a lot of donors and you have to keep them happy. And you want to show them that you're not just sitting watching YouTube all day or whatever they may imagine you may do when you work at a civil rights office. So I had in my notes for that day, 1, met with board members, 2, had lunch, and 3, met with the staff. Went home at 6:45 p.m. Now let's fast forward to a year later, June 1st, 2012, on my 1-year anniversary. And this is, by that time our office had grown. At that point we had 2 full-time attorneys. Sammy just joined us not too long ago. And here's what I had for our records of what our office did that day. We started out the day by publishing an editorial discussing Islamophobia and challenges facing American Muslims, which was published in the Tampa Tribune, reaching hundreds of thousands of individuals. Then we met with diverse community leaders to discuss using media and interfaith dialogue to strengthen our community relations and enhance understanding of Islam. Afterwards, Tanya had a meeting with one of our clients who was facing employment discrimination. Alhamdulillah, our office averages about $13,000 in settlements a month for victims of discrimination. That money doesn't come to us, it goes to those who are in need and who are facing harassment or discrimination because of their faith. Afterwards, we met with a client who was being harassed by the local law enforcement agency. I won't mention the name right now. And then, after that, we gave a sermon on the importance of building a strong community. After that, we had an interfaith dialogue with the youth. Then we did a Know Your Rights session at St. Petersburg, in the St. Petersburg community. And we finished the day meeting with donors and then apologizing to my wife for not being home enough. But alhamdulillah, I told her, don't worry, if tonight's fundraiser goes well, we can hire some more staff, inshallah, and then we can see our families more often. And in fact, this was just one day of CAIR. You look at from civil rights to employment discrimination, government harassment, community outreach, interfaith dialogue, youth leadership, all in one day. And this is the kind of work that you're supporting and making possible through your generous support. Just in the last week, our office has met with the Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection, Transportation Security Agency, FBI, CJSTC, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Hillsborough County Sheriff and Pinellas County, we met with all these agencies to ensure that your rights are being protected. And alhamdulillah, because of this effort, we've seen the Islamophobia industry losing ground and is being marginalized more and more. But the fact is, they still have a lot of resources and supporters. We stand here today for the purpose of standing collectively and united to solve the Islamophobia problem. And inshallah, through your support, that will be possible. CAIR is a great investment for the community. And in fact, we've almost brought in as much money to the victims of discrimination as much as our own operational budget. So alhamdulillah, we're very cost effective for the community, but that's not the purpose. The purpose of this organization is so we set a strong precedent that intolerance, Islamophobia, bigotry, racism, harassment will not be tolerated in Tampa, in Florida, or in America. Not just against the Muslim community, but against all of us. Because as I said earlier, when you discriminate or harass one person, you're hurting America as a whole. So inshallah, we ask for your support tonight so that we can continue doing this work and being able to focus 100% on defending civil rights. Because I'll tell you, as an attorney and working with Tanya and Sammy, there's nothing more stressful than fighting a big discrimination lawsuit against the government and against some major corporations and also worrying how to pay our bills. But if we can raise enough funds tonight, inshallah, we'll be able to do this work without any trouble. Finally, I want to offer a few special thanks to some of our guests. First and foremost, my father who flew out from Buffalo, New York, and my young brother Akram Shibli. Any good news he came from my father. Any mistakes are my own wrongdoing, alhamdulillah. Of course, after coming from God through my father. So I want to thank you for everything that you've taught me and inspiring me not just to fight for civil rights for the Muslim community, but for all people. You know, people are often surprised that when I was young and Jehovah's Witnesses would come over, my father would bring me downstairs. He said, son, I want you to listen to what they have to say. I want you to grow up respecting and understanding your fellow neighbors. Also, Dr. Vabour, who's the first board member I met, a very good friend and advisor. And I was actually a little worried when on the first day I was looking at the donations, and the donations he was giving somehow equaled the amount of my salary for that month. And then it made me realize that really he was investing in CAIR. When the entire community, actually a lot of people had turned away from the organization, and he was there and he invested and believed in it, and thanks to his effort, it's grown tremendously now to one of the leading civil rights organizations. Thanks to him and then all of you with him. Sister Michelle as well, who's worked tirelessly and had no sleep for the past couple of weeks and few months actually organizing this banquet. And then our staff who bear with me in my impatience as we try to fight for our civil rights. Tanya Clevenger, Sister Sylvia, who's probably out somewhere. Sylvia, where are you? See, she's working hard as well. And then Sammy and Naveen, our communications fellow. Michael Hanna from the law firm of Morgan & Morgan, who's been a tremendous asset. And we've formed a very strong partnership to tackle discrimination. We've had settlements from the federal government and from top businesses and global firms through our partnership. So thank you so much, Michael Hanna. Dr. Zuraida for his never-ending advice and support. In fact, he's the reason I'm here today. So if you don't like me, you can blame him. He was the one that forwarded me the application to apply to work here. Dr. Ayman Jude, who subhanAllah really deserves the title of his name. I've never asked for funds from anyone who's answered the call every single time like he has. May Allah bless him. Dr. Omar Hamawi, only Allah knows the generosity he's had for us and for the community and for CAIR. May Allah give you the best reward, and you and your family. Brother Atif Fareed, who brought in our Orlando friends from Longworth, Jazakumullah khairan for everything and took me flying not too long ago. Harun Sheikh, who basically gave me hope in the work we're doing, Brother Harun, because it was just before Ramadan and funds were starting to dry out. And alhamdulillah, we did a Know Your Rights talk, and usually you get a few $100s in donations for the organization. And subhanAllah, I looked at what he had given us, and he had given us the power to keep going to Ramadan, which gave us the funds to keep going to come here today. Ryan Mahoney, who bared with us as we developed our brand new website. Dr. Muraidan, who's also been very generous. Sister Kaukab, our speakers today, also April Griffin from the school board, who's helped fight prejudice and bigotry here in Hillsborough. Chris Ingram, who had the courage to stand up to the Islamophobia machine and debate some of the worst Islamophobes publicly and do a very good job while he was at it, will be speaking with us today. Our many interfaith and community leaders, our teachers, Dr. Miliazano, and our other friends, thank you so much for everything. Especially, I mentioned Dr. Miliazano particularly because she had to go through a very difficult time because she stood up for education and tolerance and unity, and she was targeted by the anti-Muslim Islamophobia industry. So thank you so much for joining us today. And all the public servants, we have many councilmen, we have some judges, and a lot of community leaders. Thank you for everything. And of course, our keynote speaker, Mr. Barry Richard, who you'll hear about later. Really, I can't do justice, and I don't want to bore you all, so I won't keep going, but there's just so many community members who've made tonight possible. And I'll just end with my wife, who's had patience the long hours of spending till 11, 12 o'clock in the office. Thank you for allowing me to do the work that we do. Thank you for all your support. Jazakumullah khairan, and welcome. And we hope you have a great evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Brother Hassan, for your words and for your work. I can say with certainty that the whole country, the whole state, the whole country, and the whole world benefit from the work that's being done right here in Tampa. So thank you for that. Please give another big round of applause to Brother Hassan Shibli. Very briefly, I wanted to just run through the quick Arabic dictionary, because I know that we use Arabic words sometimes almost as a reflex, and they're comfortable to us. So if you hear us say, Alhamdulillah, it just means thanks to God. You know, we're just thanking God for what we've been given. If you hear Subhanallah, we say, may God be glorified for something that we've been given. And if you hear Inshallah, it means if God wills, but that's also an Arabic way of declining an invitation politely. We appreciate our diversity here. And so, with that in mind, the work that Brother Hassan was talking about, the most important work that's being done here at Cair is that legal work, the direct legal services that are helping people in need. People call Cair, they have nowhere else to go, and Cair provides those services. And so I'd like to bring to the stage a young woman that I met today who's been doing awesome work. We're hearing about it all over the country. And I'd like to introduce to you all Ms. Tanya Diaz-Clevenger. Please give her a big round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. I hate to continue with Hassan ended with, but I'm going to start with some more thank yous before we go any further. In case from earlier, just been able to visit, my name is Tanya Diaz-Clevenger. I'm the Civil Rights Director at the Tampa Office for Cair. Like I said, I wanted to start by giving a couple more thank yous. First, thank you everybody here for coming in, supporting us. You guys, it's greatly appreciated just to be here and to know that you're all behind us. Secondly, the Cair team, Florida office, Hassan, Sammy, Sylvia, we spent a lot of hours together, and couldn't do that with another team. The volunteers, the board, you guys, we are what makes up the heart of the office, and keep it going. But I really want to give a special thanks to those that you don't see here every day. We have several students from Stenson University Law School and from the University of South Florida. These students donate their time to fight discrimination. They help us try to end the hate that we've been seeing throughout Florida. Unfortunately, many of them have conflicting schedules and weren't able to be here, but I hope you still welcome you guys to thank them. And I just want to name them. So I do have two of them here, Naveen Nawawi and Noor Shafek. I know they're here if they want to stand up. Maybe they're hiding somewhere. Or just some of our legal interns. We also had Kristen Barker, Megan Blizzard, Rana Barney, Chrissy Fernandez, Kristen Holdren, Naveen Nawawi, Jeff Pace, Nevada Pinar, and Linda Shaway. Collectively, these students have put in hundreds of hours this year. They have worked endlessly, and probably the reason they didn't come was they were scared I was going to give them another assignment. It's truly amazing how these young professionals have juggled school, volunteering, and sometimes even work. We truly would not have been able to accomplish as much as we did this year with the workload without them. The students really are remarkable, and just want to make sure you know they're here. It has been a year since I joined Cair, and I can't believe it's already been that long. It has been an amazing, eye-opening experience. While I always knew discrimination was a big issue for many communities, in my wildest dreams, I never would have envisioned the things that I have seen the Muslim community face and endure on a regular basis. Prior to coming to Cair, I worked for the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. I was there for about 2 years, and I definitely experienced some really egregious things.
But even my worst case there was nothing compared to what I saw happen in my first year at Cair. During this past year, I saw employees mistreated. I saw them unjustly terminated from their livelihood. Employers refused to grant the simplest 5-minute prayer break. I saw well-known stores and businesses simply say, you cannot come here, you cannot shop here, get out of my store. And demand that these individuals leave. Why? Because it looked different. I saw law enforcement target and harass the very people they're made to serve and protect. Every single one of these cases is important to me. The stories I've heard and you hear are sad, they're horrendous. But they're also stories of courage. They're stories of empowerment. Thanks to each person that has come to our office and stood up for their beliefs, stood up and said, my rights will not be violated, we have seen positive change. I am happy to see the small changes we were able to accomplish in just this year. Just so you guys name a few of them. We were actually able to get religious accommodations for several members of the community so they can take their prayer breaks. And in the process of doing that, we opened up lines of communications with their employers so they understood the culture and religious sensitivities. We were able to adjust another individual's schedule so he could actually attend Friday prayer. You're actually going to get to hear from Mr. Adams later today. We were able to get financial compensation for those who were mistreated and terminated unjustly from their work. We were able to get other compensation for those who were kicked out of those local businesses. We even exposed inappropriate and bigoted training that Florida law enforcement officers were receiving. And with your help and support, we can do so much more. So I'm hopeful that this next year, we're going to continue to see more positive changes. Inshallah. Thank you, and assalamu alaikum.
Please give Ms. Clevenger another huge round of applause and the whole legal team and the interns and everyone who makes this work possible. So I'd like to bring up, our first guest speaker. I've been hearing, and in New York, we hear about what goes on in Florida. We do. And we've been hearing that apparently